Hi, I'm Daniel Levinson. This is Rapier Wit, and welcome to Rapier Wit Witticisms. Hi everyone. I did a previous video about single and double action revolvers and pistols, and even fired some blanks in that one. And I realized that I didn't show how to load or unload, so I thought that'd be useful. And I even brought out an unusual revolver. This is a top break, so I thought that might be a lot of fun. All right, so I'm going to bring the camera around this side, and we'll simply go through what we have. Okay? What we have here is a single action Colt, and you can see that it has a side gate. Now, the cylinder won't move if the hammer is down, and so if you put it to half cock, you suddenly have the ability to move easily. And this is the size of the brass. Brass fired, super easy just to pop them in. And you would continue to do that. This is an insert, isn't that neat? So you can fire a .22 caliber blank if you so desire. There we go. And you'll notice that there's a little tiny hole. That means what you're doing is creating a mini chamber. So you can actually put it in along the ejection rod. See that? So you can leave them in and simply reload your .22s. And now it's ready to be used. Half cock. And they fall right out. Super easy. If for some reason, though, you cannot get it out, that's where you can use the ejection rod to push them out. And you can see it's all unloaded. So this is the double action revolver made by Smith & Wesson. So Smith & Wesson's the manufacturer. Double action means, just to remind you, that if I pull the trigger when the hammer's down, the firearm will function, unlike the single action, where you need to have the hammer back for it to function. Let me open it like that. I've noticed the less I do, the less things can go wrong. So I like to hold the firearm this way, keeping my fingers out of the trigger guard, and it allows me easy access to the chambers of the cylinder. And I can just pop the rounds in like that. Now, when I want to unload, it's just the same way. Push the release and drop them into your palm. Super easy. Double action revolver. This is a Webley Mark IV. It's a World War II firearm used by the British and Allied nations, and it's a top break. So this is a bit unusual. That's why I brought this out, because I thought people would find this interesting. To open this, and I've already put brass in here, you push down and boom, they all pop out that way. So the idea for this was it would be very quick to reload, dropping them back in. Pops them in just to show quickly how it works. Very similar to the side break, where you just pop them in. That should be enough. And away we go. This is also double action. Can be used in single action. And when it's time to empty, super easy. Oh no, this does happen sometimes. And either you pop it out with your fingers, or you simply try it again. Ta-da! Top break, double action revolver. This is a Sportaway, which is a Polish version of a Tokarev style pistol, but it's been altered, or I should say designed and built specifically to fire .22 using this insert that is about the size of an actual Tokarev round, which I think is kind of neat. And because it's a pistol, you want to be able to load it with a magazine, because most do that. Here is the release on this. There we go, empty. So I'm just gonna put that down for a sec. And you just pop these in. Now I've noticed that rather than trying to do this way, which I find hard on my thumb, I turn it just a bit more so that I can get more of my thumb 90 degrees. See that? And I just push them in like this. Now, if you're doing a ton of this on set, you can get loading devices that are useful and helpful that basically save you your thumb skin and the pad. But basically that's it. We've loaded the, in this case, the inserts, the blanks, into the magazine. And you'll notice that the magazine has a cant to it, like the grip. So you always want to have the front of the blank and the rear. So the rear on the back of the magazine, the front facing forward, which makes a lot of sense. And to put it in, we place it and slide it in. Let's do that again. Do that better. I just do that. Now, you'll see people slam them in like that. You want to be careful with that because depending on the manufacturer of the pistol, some magazines have lips, and that's frequently up here, that's frequently what gets deformed and damaged. So personally, I just like to push until I feel a solid positive action. Now, I have put the magazine into the grip. Question, is this gun now loaded? Certainly, a legal definition, this is considered a loaded firearm, but I can't fire it for a couple reasons. Remember I said it was single action? But more importantly, there are no rounds from the magazine in the chamber. I need to cycle. So what I've just done is I've moved the round up, so I'm gonna purposely pull the trigger. I've moved round up into the magazine, from the magazine into the chamber. And so if I pull this back just a little bit, let's see, you can see the brass of the insert. So I'm gonna pull it further back and out it goes. And you can see there's another one ready to be stripped forward from the magazine into the chamber. So basically, the way this firearm would work, if I was firing ammunition and not blanks, every time after the first shot, the firearm would cycle, and it would bring out one from the magazine back into the chamber. Make sense? And now, I would like to unload it, so I'm going to first remove the magazine. You really want to do that first because what people frequently do, let me just do that quickly. What people frequently do is this. You'll notice I have one left, and I think, let's put this back in the gun for a sec. And so what happens is, they do this, okay, right. And yay, I must have an empty gun because look, my magazine's empty. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So, order of events, you want to remove magazine. Then, cycle the gun to make sure that it's empty. And you can look inside and see. Make sense? So that's a single action pistol, and the overall design is Tokarev, but this is a Sportaway. So this is a double action pistol. This one happens to be a blank firing replica of a high power, and again, because it's a modern pistol design, it has that release. And I can cycle it and see that there's no ammunition in it, no blanks. This thing you see me push up, that just locks the slide so I don't have to constantly grip and play around with it. So again, let's put this down for a second and let's take a look at this magazine. So when you look at the magazine, you see how it has a cant, like the grip. So you know how to put it into the gun. And I have these fired blanks, so I'm going to use these so they won't go off. Just to remind you, the primer's been struck. And to put them in, what I like to do is turn that magazine again 90 degrees and push down and put it in. And there's a spring, and you can see as I push it in, see that? The more you put in, the tighter you're going to have that spring compress, so it gets more and more difficult, and you can see. Depending on the magazine, some have drill holes in them, and that's great because you can see how many blanks are in the magazine. This one, you have to keep count because you can see that it's not, in fact, built with the drill holes to show you. So now I have a magazine, and I want to put it into my pistol. So I'm going to push it in, and right now, actually, let's take it out one more time. Supposing I put the magazine, and I did that, you can see the slide has moved forward, and that would have stripped the round. And I'm going to show you this bit right here. This piece right here is a decocker, meaning, see how the hammer's back? So if I pulled the trigger, it would go off. What's nice about this model is because of the decocker, I can push it and it releases the tension on the hammer in a safer means than if I was doing it with just my thumb, or at least that's the plan. So let's start with the gun this way. If I put the magazine in, technically the gun is loaded, but I can't use it, right? Even though we know that this is a double action, if I pull this trigger, the hammer will go back and forth. But the issue is, all I've done is taken my magazine and put it into the grip. I've not yet moved a blank from my grip, from the magazine in my grip into the chamber for the gun to fire. So what I have to do is cycle it. Do you see what I'm doing there? And once again, I'm just going to drop the hammer. So now what I'm doing, if I had live ammunition in this, or live blanks I should say, I have dropped the hammer. I should be able to pull the trigger and it would go off. And once it goes off, it would cycle. And you can see there's another one ready to be taken up. So let's drop that hammer again. Just to remind you, the danger that many people fall into who don't understand firearms is, I would like to empty this firearm, you take the magazine out, yay, right? And I cycle it, right? And I just make sure it's out, and I will lock this all open, and I look, so this is great. I know it's completely empty, super. However, what often seems to happen, if you're not careful, is people first allow a round into the chamber. Oh, my magazine's empty, I must be empty. Except, look at that, there was one in there. So you really want to make sure in the order of events, let's put it in correctly, in the order of events, remove magazine, then cycle. Don't cycle, then remove magazine, thinking, oh, my gun is empty. You must always then do that extra check. Because unlike the revolver, it's easy for these to be hidden from sight, right? You can't tell just by looking at this if it's loaded or not. So this is a double action pistol, uses a magazine, and these are blanks because this is a blank firing replica, supposed to be a high power. Here's an extra. This is again a pistol, and again it's a single action. You can kind of tell because of the way the trigger looks. It's technically hammerless, right? Because you can't see an exposed hammer. This is a copy of a 1910 Browning, and it was a very popular pistol, especially all throughout Europe. And you'll notice though, there doesn't seem to be, there's no release to let the magazine out. This is a safety, so that's not it. So where do we do it? Right there. To remove the magazine, it's a heel release. Do you see that? And to put it in, you push back the heel, slide it in, and just like with the other ones, cycle. Now, this has a little tiny button that pops out that tells you that the firearm has been cocked. In this case, I haven't put any blanks in it, but that's an indicator. right? See that? Otherwise, how would you know? So again, you really want to always make sure you remove the magazine and only then cycle. Now, you'll notice this doesn't have any means of locking it open, so you're going to have to use your fingers when you're doing your investigation to make sure. Make sense? And I'm going to release the hammer. So right now it's cocked. I'm going to move the slide, pull the trigger. That releases the hammer rather than doing a lot of dry firing on the pistol. So there you go. This has a heel release for its magazine, and this is a single action pistol.